good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. And that depends very much on where you are listening to me from around the world. This is JFI Radio Live, and I am your host, Josefa Fawcett. And each week I'll be back with you chatting about stories of life, stories of work, stories of what's been going on in my professional world. So what is my professional world and why might you be interested? Well, I talk about business training and learning and AI tech in the education field. I talk about human resources, about open education, and about quality and business excellence. And in the middle of all of my chitter-chatter, there's my global news roundup, a regular feature that I bring to you each week, right in the middle of the live broadcast. And I have spent a lot of time each week sourcing the most interesting, exciting items about all of my professional area, covering the length and breadth of the land. Well, not just this land, not just the UK where I'm based, but all around the world. And I touch every single continent. So some of the stories might be things that you've missed, and I bring them to you. And also my colleagues and friends around the world feed me with really interesting information as well. So I hope that you will enjoy it. So thank you so much for joining me again. And the important thing is, if you miss an item or you want to go back and learn a little bit more, all the links to the full news items are on my website. So let me just change that ticker for you so that you know where to go. There we go. Let's put that one up. So if you go to my main JFI Radio website, you'll get the news report links and can find out a little bit more yourself. You go to the website jfiradio.com, scroll down. After this broadcast, you'll see a great big blue button, and that'll take you to the replays and the news links. And you can make your own choices and decisions about the information that I share with you and how accurate you think it feels. Or maybe you'll have a comment about it, or you want to ask a question. You get a chance to do that in the second part of the show. It's then I open up the text buttons, and it is text. I've decided not to do it as phone lines simply because I'm my own sound engineer. There's a limit as to what I can do on my own. So I open up the text. You can type. So if you're listening to me on YouTube or Facebook, type in the chat. It'll appear live on the screen and I will respond to you live. If you're listening to me on LinkedIn, thank you, but unfortunately LinkedIn haven't yet got their act together and synced up with the live chat. So my advice is see me once or twice on LinkedIn and then pop on over to the YouTube channel. Not because it's just easier for you to make the connection with me live, but because I want the subscribers. I think I'm up to 40 at the moment, which is the increase on last week. I'm heading for that 100 by the end of this year. So please help me and please do subscribe. So what have I got in store for you on the broadcast today? And what have I been up to this week? Well, I suppose my week really started last Saturday because it was our global meeting on Equinox event. It was online. It was for 18 hours. I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a moment. Then when that was finished, I popped on over to the Netherlands, and specifically to Erasmus University Rotterdam and the Erasmus Enterprise to work with a fantastic team of HR professionals. I actually went on a plane, so that wasn't online, and that was great fun. And then I got back on the plane after spending a few days there, and back in the UK I went for dinner and the annual membership gathering with the Institute of Leadership at the House of Commons. no less, or some of you may know it as the Palace of Westminster, um, in the Houses of Parliament. Oh, so exciting. So exciting. So let me touch on some of those things with you in the broadcast this morning. And the best place to start is the celebration of the autumnal equinox. So we had a global meeting. Who are we? We are Global Bildung Network. And you should be getting quite used to knowing who Bildung is now and what the network's about, because I mention it in quite a lot of broadcasts, either in the news or in the chitter-chatter pieces just before the news. Now, I'm part of the Global Bildung Network, which celebrates the spring equinox with European Bildung Day, and also the autumnal equinox, which is, as you know, 21st, 22nd, depending where you are in the world, of September. And we had this meeting for 18 hours online, where we travelled all around the world to every continent, talking about not just Bildung, but the kind of things that are behind Bildung, that underpin Bildung or could be related to Bildung. And the highlights are what I'm going to bring you for a few broadcasts, I think, because there's far too many to do in just one hit. It was quite simply an amazing 18 hours. And as ever, I was up at 5 a.m. UK time to catch the first culture zone, which was in Oceania. And I wasn't disappointed. Oh my goodness, it was so exciting listening to Rawiri Toa. I really hope that I've said that correctly. And he was from the Maori Cooperation and Cooperatives in Oceania, in Aotearoa. Aotearoa. Oh, forgive me. Listen, the problem with it being live is you can't edit out any of the bloopers. Aotearoa, New Zealand. I don't think I've had my first coffee this morning. And oh, by the way, did you notice that I am about half an hour earlier? That's because straight after this, I'm facilitating a leadership and management event online. And so I needed to do the live broadcast and then reset myself, reset my body clock and everything else and my brain to get ready to do the launch of the leadership and management program for a client. So that's why I'm featuring a bit earlier. But if you're not listening to me live, you don't mind. You don't care because you're listening to the replays, which is fine. So let's go back to Rawiri. And I didn't know very much about Maori culture. So it was really interesting to listen to him talking about how his peoples are acclimatizing, adjusting, adapting to all the things that are going on in the world. And he was talking about how they cooperate with the environment, particularly post-COVID. And they truly believe that the land does and can heal itself. It's just people and politics and agendas get in the way of all of that. But what's so interesting about the Maori people and what he was describing is that they are people of the ocean. Their connection is through the water, and they understand how that relates to everything that they do in their living life on the land and the ebb and flow of nature and how that affects what they do and how they think and how they behave with each other in their communities. He was talking about the notion of the land, the ocean, and the sky. And you can imagine how that sort of really hits home because it integrates so much with the concept of Bildung. And I was talking about that the last couple of weeks, where the essence of Bildung revolves around the head, the hand, and the heart. So it was wonderful to listen to. Incredibly interesting, though. I know that they have opposite climates to ours. So when the New Year's being celebrated in the Northern Hemisphere, in New Zealand, it's the Maori summer, and they use a different calendar, a lunar calendar. Now, this Maori lunar calendar is also known as Maramaka. I'm not doing it right. Don't I wish? Don't I wish that it was pre-recorded and I could present to you perfect pronunciation this morning. Maramataka. Thank you. Maramataka is how they recognize the lunar calendar. I hope I am making you smile this morning. I don't think water is going to cut it, but I'll try anyway. So this Maramataka calendar, the way that the Maoris see the lunar calendar, is based on the cycles of the moon, which is different to us. And it divides up the lunar month into 30 phases, with each phase representing a type of weather and natural event. And of course, it governs the way that they run their lives and the way they cooperate with neighbours. And one of the things he explained is that it's really important for the Maori peoples now to look at how they cooperate with neighbours further afield, which is something that they are teaching themselves how to do. Not just with the Pacific Islands, but further than that as well, and recalibrate how they might live in relation to those differences. But they do experience things at different times, and something that really hit home for me was education, because I talk about education and learning and training. Well, in relation to education, Braweri was talking about when students are set exams and tests, their circadian rhythm is different because they're following the Maramataka. Why I can't get that right this morning. And so he was questioning whether the curricula needed to be changed and the timing of some of these tests and assessments. He also talked about something that is really dear to my heart, which is about the way that we test people and students and the way they learn anyway. But that's for a future episode. We can easily pick that one up again. So listening to him at 5 a.m, I did have my cup of coffee next to me as I was listening, and I was slowly melting into the knowledge and the information that he was giving, particularly not just with the education, but he started to talk about AI. And that's one of the other topics that I cover in this live broadcasts. And he said that the Maori are starting to look at how their knowledge is being used and featured in AI online material, and hopefully looking to how to dispel some of the stereotypes so that they can maintain the integrity of their practices. But to do that, the starting point for them is to reclaim their own knowledge systems and understand them better before openly sharing them with the wider world. They do believe that once everything is online and they open this to the world, the sovereignty is gone from them. So they need to look in a little deeper at who they are and the new modern society. He finished by saying, and I'm going to read this to you: "We need time to learn about ourselves in the space before opening up to anyone else. There's a fear that some of our intellectual property, our knowledge, will be taken and used in ways that our ancestors did not see." That's an absolute direct quote from Rawiri Toa, from the Maori Cooperation and Cooperatives in Oceania over in New Zealand. And I'm going to bring you many, many more learning aspects from the global meeting in Equinox in my future broadcasts, because the content was just so rich during the 18 hours, it would be wrong for me not to bring it to you. What else? Well, I mentioned Netherlands. And I have a love for going back to the Netherlands for many reasons, because I have friends there, but also my late mother-in-law was Dutch, and she was actually from Rotterdam. So it was a fabulous thing to be going back again. I was in Rotterdam in May this year. As I mentioned, that was when we were doing the European Bildung Day, and we were back in exactly the same place, the Erasmus Enterprise Hub. So there I was, back with them. The campus, by the way, the Erasmus University Rotterdam campus is absolutely huge. It's enormous and it's brilliant. We did some social nights. There was a live open stage event on the night that I arrived, where the students get on the stage and sing their musical compositions. Oh, the sun was just going down. It was that glorious red, orangey sun, and the pond, the little piece of water, the pond with the fountains just outside the Erasmus Pavilion, was just dancing to the music. It was a fabulous experience, but it's a massive campus. And I went to work with a fantastic team of HR professionals. Now, what's so exciting about this is that they are starting to adjust their thinking and prepare as a service for the future. And these HR professionals are involved not just in the university, but they're involved in supporting many of the BVs, which are like limited companies. That's what BV means in the Netherlands. These are startups, SMEs, as well as the university itself. So it's quite an eclectic mix, a diverse mix of bodies that they will be managing, some with very few people in the workforce, some with many, and is very much a movable feast, because some of these are startups. They're much more fluid and flexible. So what's fabulous about these HR professionals is they're starting to think about, how do we prepare for the future? Which is something a lot of HR departments should be doing right now. What does the future and the future of the workforce and the future of a very digitized, automated, AI-driven workforce going to mean for us? What's it going to mean for the service? What is it going to mean for recruitment? I did a very interesting, just as an aside, I did a really interesting interview during the week as well. I'd almost forgotten about that, where I do some voiceover work, and I was doing an interview for a voiceover agency, and it was all online. Not live, but you had to record your voice. Now, what's different from doing a normal VO recording is you do the recording, you then fine tune it, you make it as clean as possible, and then you send it off for audition. In this case, you had to record live into a camera, and there was no editing. So they could actually hear exactly how your voice sounded before you had done the post-production. Also, they set questions. So you have to answer 5 different questions, and you need to record your answers. And I was just thinking, I know this isn't new, but I also don't see it happening a lot. And I'm thinking, why on earth shouldn't recruitment agencies do this more? Because, people can express through the spoken word so much better than when they write, shall we say, business jargonized language in CVs. A CV doesn't tell you a whole lot, but this, bearing in mind it was for a VO, was such an appropriate way to do that interview. I'll tell you later if I manage to get through or not. Anyway, I digress, which is part and parcel of what I do here. But what is interesting about this is the fact that these HR folk were looking at, well, what does automation mean for us in recruitment in the future? And what does it mean not to know what's coming? Some really interesting questions here. So I created for them a very exciting 5-point blueprint so that they could create an excellent HR readiness service. And we're testing out the model. It probably could be useful for other HR services around the world, but I will update you on how this rolls out as we go. We did some brainstorming against the model, and the intention is they'll be much more informed and prepared as new initiatives roll out. And I will be talking a lot more about it in future broadcasts because it'll unfold, and I'll be visiting them either virtually or in person every couple of months so that we can do a checkpoint and see how it's going. What's so interesting about this is the fact that it's absolutely in line with Erasmus Enterprise, which enables innovation and creativity. So there you go. I love going back to Rotterdam. Because I get a chance to see my friend Ernst Hurstra again, who is the CEO of Erasmus Enterprise, and I get to listen to all the fantastic work he and his team do supporting startup business ventures. They really are the future of the economy over there in the Netherlands and beyond. So it's always exciting to listen to them. Oh, you'd think that that was enough, wouldn't you? I came back, and last night I came in very late. Maybe that's why I'm a little bit all over the place this morning for the broadcast, because I got home very late last night. And you know where I was having dinner? I was at the House of Commons. The Parliament, the UK Parliament, the Palace of Westminster, as it is officially known. And I was there at an annual members event with the Institute of Leadership. Now, I have been involved with the Institute of Leadership and all the other names they've used over the decades for a long time. It used to be the Institute for Supervision and Management. Then it became the Institute for Leadership and Management, and now it's the Institute of Leadership. And it is a professional membership body. And it has an international community of over 50,000 leaders, managers, coaches, mentors. And I'm really proud to say that I am a very long-standing fellow of the association. And probably after the week that I've had, jumping off planes, doing an online interview, and everything else in between from the last Saturday, I did feel like I was the very oldest in the room. I was tired, but a couple of Prosecco's, that pepped me up just a little bit. And it was wonderful to think back to what it used to be, because, you know, the ISM that I mentioned to you before, I used to design and accredit their programs. And it was a membership organisation then. I mean, it started in the late 1950s, 1954, 1956, something like that, long before I was born. And it was running alongside, in the UK, what was called the National Examination Board for Supervision and Management. So old language, yes. But then later on, I think it was just turn 2000, 2001, it merged the two, and that then led to the Institute of Leadership and Management, and then that transitioned again, so all of their qualifications are now under the City and Guilds umbrella, and now the Institute of Leadership has reclaimed its independent status as a professional body. It's focusing on leadership and leadership of the future and what that's going to mean. And if you think about what I was telling you before about Rotterdam and the HR profession looking at the future, their future readiness and capability. And if you think about what I do in JFI Academy, which is all about future capability and setting that up, all of this actually has a bit of a thread. So I get involved in things that support my main aim, which is about helping professionals be ready for the future, not followers of the past. And Everything I get involved in is for that particular aim. I am nothing if not a woman on a mission. Anyway, I have to tell you, the event was fabulous. We had some superb food. I made some lovely new contacts, which is always great when you go to things like this. And also making new contacts is something you should do on the regular in any case. And the inside of the House of Commons, I've been there quite a few times, and the House of Lords. It was just as amazing as ever. You can feel the historic richness of the place when you walk in. The small plates of food were very much appreciated. There were guest speakers, and I got to spend some time finally chatting with I'm not saying new, he's new-ish, the new CEO, John Mark Williams, and he joined IOL from a career in international business and leadership from across UK, Europe, Middle East, Far East and North America. So you can imagine the two of us together, we have so much to talk about. And last night was just the start, and we're going to carry on. It was a fabulous night. It was amazingly rich. It was an amazing historical setting, and yeah, just wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. So it's been quite a hectic week. So that's my news. What's going on around the rest of the world? Well, as ever, I need to make sure that I let you know what that is. Here is the news roundup for Friday, the 27th of September, 2024. Enjoy.
You're listening to JFI Radio Live. Here's the latest training and learning news from around the globe.
From JFI Radio Newsroom, here are the latest global news headlines. North America. The Seraph Operational Excellence Awards showcase outstanding achievements in operations, quality, logistics and human resources in the North American automotive industry. Cooper Standard, headquartered in Northville, Michigan, and their mixing facility, Aguascalientes, in Mexico, is the winner of the 2024 Award for Quality Excellence. The company's mixing facility is one of Cooper Standard's diamond plants. Cooper Standard is one of 5 companies Seraph is celebrating this year, each of whom is chosen through a 2-step process designed to assess and evaluate performance across key operational areas. South America. The study, The Urgency of Educational Recovery in Latin America and the Caribbean, published by the UNESCO Regional Multi-Sectoral Office in Santiago in 2024, highlights the extent of the educational setback caused by COVID-19. It states that if countries don't adopt a systemic and comprehensive response, the consequences of the crisis will affect the learning of students in the region for many years to come. The most severe effects have already impacted the opportunities for boys, girls and adolescents to attend school and learn, and despite multiple public educational policy actions, the recovery of learning remains an open debt, and transformation of education in the region are part of an urgent agenda to achieve the SDG 4 goals by 2030. Europe and the UK. JISC is a not-for-profit organisation in the UK that provides network and IT services and digital resources in support of further and higher education and research, as well as the public sector. Generative AI tools such as ChatGPT continue to impact teaching and learning experiences and assessment methodologies. JISC has introduced an assessment working group which has been collaborating with 13 universities to develop a structured approach to show academics how to responsibly incorporate Gen AI into their assessment strategies. Africa. The Ministry for Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology in the Gambia received a ministerial delegation from the People's Republic of China. The purpose of the visit was to cement the existing bilateral ties between the two countries and to sign a draft memorandum of understanding between China and the Gambia's Higher Education Ministry. The other MOU was between the University of Applied Science, Engineering and Technology of the Gambia and the Guangxi Polytechnic of Construction for capacity building in China. Asia. A recent survey of civil servants in Kazakhstan reveals gaps in training and career development. Fostering greater international collaboration could play a critical role in addressing these challenges, and those wanting career advancement and to enhance their qualifications face several obstacles: a lack of meaningful training opportunities, poor quality of training programs and career processes. In some governmental bodies, the share of civil servants who have undergone training is less than 20%. By creating opportunities for civil servants to engage with global networks and gain exposure to international best practices, Kazakhstan could enhance its public sector's adaptability and effectiveness. The Middle East. In Sharjah, in the UAE, the Institute of Environmental Management and Sustainability Academy, in partnership with the College of Business Administration at Ajman University, launched the second edition of its annual competition for universities dedicated to sustainability. The competition aims to encourage innovative solutions by students that have the potential to reshape the sustainability landscape in the country. Themed Pathway to Net Zero, Innovating for a Sustainable Future, the competition invites participants to be part of a transformative journey aimed at driving innovations in sustainability and the net zero transition, while spotlighting the wider education sector within Ajman and the UAE. Australia and New Zealand. And finally, in New South Wales, Australia, schools are trialling an AI tool called NSW EduChat, designed to guide students rather than provide easy answers. It's the second state in the country after South Australia to test its own in-house artificial intelligence tool. The AI tool was developed by the New South Wales Department of Education and has become a core piece of the West Wyalong High School students' final year. It looks like a messaging platform where students can ask questions. However, the technology doesn't give them easy answers. Instead, it gives suggestions about how students can improve their work and find the correct answers on their own by posing a series of prompting questions in the same way a teacher might to inspire critical thinking. Associate Professor in AI in Education at the University of South Australia, Dr. Vitomir Kovanovic, praised the two states for experimenting with the technology. That's been your Global Weekly News Roundup. Please come back and join me next week. And welcome back. Thank you. I hope you found that news interesting. I'm just checking on the ticker at the bottom. You can see that if you want to contribute some news and you'd like me to feature it on the show, then send me any news items that you have to studio@jfiradio.com and I will feature this for you. And I'd be delighted to do so. So let me pick up just one of the news items that you were listening to just now, and that was the report from Kazakhstan. Now, Kazakhstan is such an amazing place to be in. It's also a very difficult place to get to. I was there about 8-9 years ago in a place called Astana, except now it's been renamed as Nur Sultan. And I was doing some delivering some executive leadership and management training for the week for people in the oil and gas industry. And absolutely fascinating because I had two interpreters. I had one Russian and one Kazakh, and the material was in English and Russian and Kazakh, and all the videos that had been given to me were in American English. And I remember contacting my friend in Moscow online and asking him to find me some equivalents in Russian so that at least I could show these. I didn't know what they were saying, but if he found me equivalents, I trusted his judgment. So it was really interesting as I was delivering the training in English, and then the Russian interpreter would then repeat what I'd said. So this is called consecutive interpretation. And then the Kazakh interpreter would repeat it as well. And the group were reading it in either Russian or English or Kazakh. The week was long and it was cold. It was like minus 42. You did hear me right. Minus 42. It was beyond anything I'd ever experienced before. But so that's one of the reasons why this particular news item appealed to me. And it's about civil servants in Kazakhstan, if you remember, and their gaps in training and career development. And the fact that less than 20% civil servants have undergone any kind of training. And the career opportunities, again, are limited unless they really expose themselves to international best practices. Okay, I'm not going to go down the best practice route just now, but I will bring that up at a future broadcast, because I do have some particularly strong views about best practice and whether it works or not. And I will tell you the story of Mary Berry, who is a famous baker here in the UK. So if anybody wants to remind me of one of a future broadcasts, then you just type into the chat. And also just to remind you, if you do want to say anything to me, please type in the chat and I will be very happy to respond to you. Anyway, the news report said that Kazakhstan could enhance its public sector's adaptability and effectiveness if it looked outside and looked at practices elsewhere and increased the amount of training that it did. Now, anything that increases training inside an organisation gets my thumbs up, except for one thing. If you're going to incorporate training or put in more online learning or face-to-face training in an organisation, the key is you've got to use what is being learned. And that means managers and leaders need to involve themselves in what their workforce is going to learn. The courses, brief them beforehand, talk to them afterwards, because you know what? When they come back from training, if people like me and my fellow learning and training professionals all around the world, when people come back into the workplace, they come back with innovative ideas, with creative thoughts, and they want to change or improve practice. And if nothing changes because their host, their manager, their leader says, okay, you've done the training now you're back at work, we'll just carry on, then why did they go in the first place? Training without reflection is not learning. So, Kazakhstan, civil servants in Kazakhstan, managers of civil servants in Kazakhstan, and other places around the world. Remember that. If you don't let your people use what they've learnt in training, why bother send them on it in the first place? Oh, well, it looks like my time is up yet again. Look how fast time goes when you're having fun. And I need to close the broadcast, regroup myself, and then start doing some online facilitation of training all of my own. Please remember to write to me at studio@jfiradio.com. I would be so pleased to hear from you. Also, please, big shout out, my YouTube channel. Please go to that and subscribe. I'd really love to get a few more subscribers and get up to that 100 by the end of the year. The next broadcast is on the 4th of October. It'll be back to the normal time of 9 a.m. UK. I really hope you've enjoyed this broadcast as much as I have bringing it to you. If you're a trainer, facilitator, or academic tutor, you are more than welcome to not only direct your learners to me here at JFI Radio Live on YouTube, so they can listen to the recordings live, as long as that doesn't interfere with your classes, I hope, and subscribe, of course. But you can also use the content from my podcasts. You'll find them on Spotify. Let me pop that up on the screen. There we go. All the back episodes of my podcasts since 2015, because I've been doing this for a very long time, is on tinyurl.com/JFIR-Spotify. If you missed that, then have a look at it on the replay, or as the ticker comes round again. Please feel free to use the material in whatever way and come back and tell me how you're using it. That would be great fun. Remember, join me next week on the 4th of October. Thank you for listening. I will talk to you again then. Have a great weekend, and all it leaves for me to say is bye for now. JFI Radio